And we back. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Watch Your Mouth Reviews. This is your boy James, and I'm here to give my honest review, or in this case, unpopular opinion while trying to watch my mouth. We'll see. Joining me as always is my girl, Mrs. Best. Y'all say what's up to her.
Hello, like the video, share it, all of those good things.
Yes, like the video, like, comment, and subscribe to both channels. Any recaps or reviews that I don't do on my channel, we 9 out of 10 do on Mrs. Best channel, such as Love and Hip Hop Atlanta and Basketball Wives. She holds the right to both of those ones. I only do the other ones. So yes, we love it here. Shout out to my girl Jim Bunny who made it into the chat early. Thank you for joining us today, love. We appreciate you as always. So if you guys read the caption, this is an unpopular opinion on Dom versus Diddy lawsuit. And we're also going to do a snippet of Kalenna Harper, who you guys know was also the other member of Diddy Dirty Money. And she was also on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta as well for a few seasons. So we're familiar with her in those realms. But she was also part of the group and had her
One
own thing.
season. She was a one and done.
I thought she did. I feel
No,
like I saw her
just the
more
one.
one season.
It was just the long season.
Okay. Well, as Mrs. Best clarified, just the one. But directly, she had a response to Don's lawsuit and her own experience. So we're going to get that. We're going to read what she said as well. I was shocked. Not really, but yes, because this is on paper his 8th lawsuit of one of his own people that he's either signed or has some business affiliation with that is legally suing him. So it was definitely a turn of events because I wasn't expecting this. I would have thought it would have been maybe one of the other ladies from Danity Kane, maybe like Aubrey or even D Wood, someone else. I didn't expect Don to do this, but she has filed a lawsuit, and I'm going to go ahead and read exactly what she is saying. And then we'll also read a statement from Diddy's attorney to also kind of clear the air on, what his response to this all. So let me share my screen so I can cite my sources. So where is it? Here we go. So Danny Kane's Don Richard sues Sean Diddy Combs for sexual assault and battery. So, from what we understand, former Danny Kane member Don Richard has filed a lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs for alleging hip hop mogul for sexually assaulted her, deprived her of food and sleep, and refused to pay her adequately. Richard also said in the lawsuit filed Tuesday in the New York federal court that she witnessed Combs physically abuse his former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, on numerous occasions and saw Combs and his associates engaging in illegal drugs and sexual acts with underage girls. Over the decades following his rise to fame, Mr. Combs' star-studded larger-than-life persona overshadowed his vicious temper and persuasive acts of violence directed towards those in his inner circle, specifically women, the complaint says. And we want to give a huge shout out to our source, NPR, for breaking this story here with us today. So I'm going to come back to this, but I wanted to get the consensus of what we're dealing with here. So that's a lot to sue someone over. We're talking sexual assault, deprivation of food, illegal substances of drugs, and also in turn, she's also accusing him of having inappropriate acts with minors. Whoa, I'm gonna go off camera a little bit because I see I'm delaying just a slight bit. But that's a lot. And this is all being, this is allegedly, this is due to Don's version of the story. So based on what she's suing him for, Mrs. Best, how did you feel about Don coming out and filing this lawsuit?
Good for her. Good for her. That's all I would say for her coming out in the lawsuit. I'm not really that surprised. There's been several lawsuits. Some of them have made press, some of them have not. The government's looking into him allegedly. There's been a lot. So I'm not surprised. People probably feel a little bit safer after the situation with Cassie's lawsuit, especially with how it was handled and how fast it was handled. I am not surprised. Don has also not been on the best terms with Diddy. I know a lot of people argue you were on his Love album, but what people don't understand is artists have lots of songs that could potentially be in the vault that they're not putting out. Artists can record something and put it out, and you think it's new, but it was actually a song that was recorded and done years ago. So she has publicly come out several times and spoken about his treatment of her as being negative prior to the Cassie lawsuit and all of these allegations. All of Danny Kane has at one point. So I'm not fully surprised. Also, watching how he treated them on Making a Band 2, I'm not surprised. At this point, I'm just not surprised by anything.
Okay, yeah, it was. I wasn't. I was surprised because of, in actuality, when you think about how Danity Kane unraveled and it coming out years later, allegedly, that they weren't even supposed to be as big as they were. That was just all for show. Like, it was all for the TV show, the Making the Band series and following Danity Kane. They were never intended to be a group and to sell the albums that they sold. That was strictly just for TV. So the fact now that Don was the only one chosen to continue with another project from Diddy, it was surprising because I thought she would be like the Kelly Prices of the world who were defending him to this day. I thought she definitely would have been on that side of the spectrum. So it was interesting. I'm going to continue reading you guys of what else she's alleging in this lawsuit that he has done, and we'll see how we feel about that. So I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to continue further with what she is saying. So the claims reached that Richard became associated with Combs in 2004 after auditioning for season 3 of his MTV reality show Making the Band. Richard alleges during auditions he called female contestants names, including fat, ugly, and the B word. Richard, during the production of the show and subsequent years, she and her bandmates were forced to rehearse up to 48 hours with no rest or food. Richard said that she had lost a subliminal amount of weight and began getting rashes from the microphone pack that she wore on her back during filming. In one instance, Richard exercising on the beach and vomited instead of MTV providing medical assistance. Crews filmed the incident according to the complaint. Richard says she was diagnosed in 2010 with anemia, a low white blood cell count, and arthralgia and joint stiffness caused by overuse sprains and infections such as rheumatic fever and chickenpox. Mr. Combs is shocked and disappointed by this lawsuit. An attempt to rewrite history, Don Richard has now manufactured a series of false claims in all the hopes of trying to get a payday, conveniently timed to coincide with her album release and press tour, Combs' attorney Erica Wolf said in a statement. So we're going to read what she said in the statement because TMZ did capture that information here. So I'm going to share my screen again, and then we're going to read what his lawyer had in place on the statement. So let me share my screen again. Okay. So Erica Wolf tells TMZ Mr. Combs is shocked by and disappointed by the lawsuit and attempt to rewrite history. Don Richard has now manufactured a series of false claims in all hopes of trying to get a payday, conveniently timed to coincide with her album release and press tour. She adds, if Miss Richard had such a negative experience with Making the Band and Danny Kane, she would not have chosen to continue to working directly with Mr. Combs for Dirty Money, nor would she have returned for Making the Band reboot in 2020 or agreed to be featured on the Love album last year. It's unfortunate that Miss Richard has cast their 20-year friendship aside to try and get money from him, but Mr. Combs is confidently standing on truth and looks forward to proving that in court. So, according to his lawyer, he's going through with the lawsuit because he's disputing everything basically of her claims. Now, I feel two ways about this because we have seen, inappropriate behavior from him on the MTV Making the Band show. We have seen him, impressed to, I think it was the men making the band, not the female making the band, that made them go out and get a cheesecake in severely low temperature weather that was miles away from where the production studio was for them filming. We have seen that. So there is legitimate behavior of that in other seasons. So it's very much so possible that Dawn could have experienced that in her, her time on the show. So I kind of felt like I wouldn't speak too harshly on that because yes, she did agree to do a song on an album, but like Mrs. Best said, that could have been done years ago. Like, do we have proof of her being in the studio in recent times? Do we know when that song was, dubbed? Do we know any of that information? I feel like there needs to be more research made. So, Mrs. Best, how do you feel about the lawyer's statement?
Lawyers are trained liars. They're trained to manipulate. They're trained to understand how to find loopholes and get around stuff. When Cassie and that lawsuit happened, Diddy's lawyer said that they were appalled at Miss Ventura's claims and that they looked forward to proving that everything that Cassie said was not true. And then 24 hours later, they settled for a massive amount of money. And then months later, a video drops proving Cassie's claims to all be true. So I don't buy shit that any of these lawyers have to say off of the simple fact that they called Cassie a liar, settled, let people think that she could have been a liar and caused division just for the camera to show months later the video of him assaulting her, proving her claims to be true. So I don't think in this situation for any person, not just Diddy, I would never believe a defense attorney because I need to see the evidence. When you're on that side, in my opinion, the evidence is more important just because regardless on whose side you're on, the attorney is going to defend and make their client look good, guilty or not.
Good point. Good point. And yeah, and as I said, I need to file evidence. I need to see evidence as well. But at the same time, it's not far fetched because there is videos of him abusing a woman. I don't know what would make Don Richards any different. So I just feel like,
Aubrey O'Day also said that there's things she could have said. I really think there's like a serious case of NDAs that are expired now or something because the amount of
mhm,
people that are getting caught up is wild. But I do believe Don. There's not really any artist that worked with him or was signed to Bad Boy that will say like great things about him, except for maybe Faith, and she won't even sign with him. So
right. So yeah. But speaking of which, Kalenna Harper responded to the allegations as well. And this is what she had to say. We're going to shout out to Yahoo for breaking the story. Shout out to them. Or wait, no, sorry, XXL. Sorry, let me share the other screen. Sorry, y'all. Here we go. So XXL got a story for Kalenna Harper. She's posted this on her social media. So she said, while we fully respect Dawn's right to recount her experience, I want to emphasize that her account reflects her personal perspective and should not be interpreted as a universal truth applicable to everyone involved. Harper wrote in a statement below, it is important to understand while I was present in some of the same professional settings mentioned, many of the allegations and incidents described in this suit are not representative of my experiences, and some do not align with my own truth. Tony and I had always conducted ourselves to the highest level of professionalism and integrity. We were not involved in, nor were we aware of any behavior that could be considered abusive or unlawful. She added, as this matter now part of an ongoing legal process, I'll refrain from discussing any specific details further. My focus continues to be on my family, my music, and my work, which I will pursue with the same dedication and positivity that I always guided me. I trust that the legal system will handle this case with fairness and thoroughness it requires, and I support any process that seeks to uncover the truth, Harper concluded in her statement. So, it's not necessarily debunking Don's experience because in true setting, she wasn't there for Danity Kane or making the band. So she can't really speak to those experiences that Don had, which she was very clear were during those times. Now, through the dirty money instances, if those same things were going on, I feel like she doesn't want to get involved because, to my own opinion, this is allegedly, I feel like there could be a huge pay for her that she's still collecting and still benefits of her that she's still collecting throughout this. And then another side of me feels like the way, we've seen her on Love and Hip Hop always stand to protect her husband, even though he was grimy on the show. A lot of the times, like when he opened up I can remember on the show. Now it could have been bullshit, y'all. I'm sorry. I just have to say that. But we've seen him take their money and open up a club, tell her music isn't going anywhere, even though she is extremely talented. We've seen her go through postpartum depression and him not really supporting her. So we've seen her protect inappropriate behavior from her own husband. So it does not surprise me in any instances if there is at least one experience that she could recall where it may have been inappropriate in Don's favor that she should do it. But people choose to stay out of things, and this is what she's saying. She's not in this. This ain't her fight. So how did you feel about hearing Kalenna Harper's response, Mrs. Best?
I think it was smart of her to say something, because if she would have said nothing, everybody would have been like, her silence says everything. So she had to say something. I do get that. But she was someone married, and she has the type of husband we learned from Love and Hip Hop that regardless of him being a certain way towards her when it comes to business, he seems to always be around. Um, Also, someone with a husband is more difficult for a predator to get to. So I do partially believe her. I don't think she had the same experience as everyone else. She did not work with him as long as everybody else. She started to work with him later in the game. So I just don't think she did anything wrong by her statement. The part of it that bothers me is I know that you saw something that could have been like red flag behavior, but she's in the industry, so it's better to just make it clear like you want nothing to do with this and don't got nothing to do with you than to be like, oh yeah, and I thought this years ago, because then people will always reference you to that. It's either that she's trying to protect her career from scandal, or she just, or it's something else. But I let's just let the lawsuits play out. It's not going to take long.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then also to mention, I was just looking, her name is mentioned 33 times in Don's statement.
So that
So,
means that you saw something. That's why I
yeah.
say I don't believe she saw nothing. Do I
hmm
think he did something to her? No. But do I think that she witnessed things? Yes.
hmm I agree. I mean, my honest opinion, and this is all allegedly, y'all. We can't tell someone's story, but in our opinion, I agree with Mrs. Best. I think she saw something and is choosing to stay silent. And I feel like it could be for a number of reasons. Maybe a payday. Maybe she just doesn't want to be in it because she's thinking of her own brand. Who knows? I don't know Kalenna that well. I do love her voice, love her music, but I I only can go based on what Love and Hip Hop has shown, which we've seen it. I only can go based on, the terms of what she's saying. And if she's saying that she doesn't recall the same experience, I mean, to be named 33 times in one claim, it's, there's something to be said here. So, we want justice regardless of how this looks. If this did in fact happen to Don, we want her to seek whatever judgment in the name of justice that she should be awarded, because it's not fair to go through this. Yeah, yeah, 33 times. Kalenna's name is in the claim 33 times. And to me, I could see if it was just once or twice her name was mentioned, then I would be like, okay, well, maybe she really didn't see anything. Maybe she really was professional, and maybe it was just Don who got the treatment. But when we talk about 33 times, yeah, it leads me to believe you're just staying silent because you may feel that it may benefit you to stay silent, which is fine. That's part of the law. You have the right to remain silent. You don't have to get up there and say anything that you don't want to say or that you feel will damage, someone else's character. That's fine. But I just feel like that's a lot of times to be mentioned, and for you to say that you don't recall at least one experience where she could be valid. Just saying. That's kind of like, wow, hey. But I don't know, y'all. I'm just saying, for me, you know, I just hope I wish the best for Dom because I do like her. I do enjoy her voice. I love her music as well. And, you know, the placement of where she is today, I hope that, she gets, the help that she needs and is able to bounce back off this stronger than when she, entered the situation. That's all. That's all we want for Dom. But this was crazy. And we'll see how this goes. And yes, I will definitely do another. This will probably make an updates video because I don't think I'll do an unpopular opinion on this. But I will definitely keep this updates for y'all and see where this goes because I will be watching. Mrs. Best, is there anything you want to add before we end the unpopular opinion?
No, be sure to like the video. And I think with this Diddy thing, we're just going to have to wait for lawsuits to settle. And if they don't settle, one thing that will come out is information within the documents that we did not know before. So more will come out.
All right. Well, then that's it, you guys. So, yes, I'll keep you guys posted in the updates video when this does, go to trial. Good luck to Don. And, we hate to hear this for you. Reading that out loud was, horrible, but we wish the best for you. We hope that, everyone gets the justice that they're just due. And, we're going to keep our eyes out on this one. We promise. So thank you guys once again. Tune in, like Mrs. Beth said. Make sure you guys like the video, comment, subscribe. Also, share it. Make sure you get me out there. I'm building my channel up, trying to do the best I can. And I'll do my best to, continue to report on this. Until the next video, you guys, I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.